Hello, welcome to my studio. My name is Judy Sherman, and today we're going to be doing a little bit of drawing. The materials that we're going to be using today for drawing are pencil, paper, and eraser. And we are going to be doing some bird watching. Hi everybody. So when we start drawing, we don't think that we're drawing a bird, a tree, a flower, a person. What we think about are shapes. There's a saying, you draw the shapes and the shapes draw the form. So today we're going to be drawing a bunch of shapes that will look like a bird. My favorite pencil that I use is a 2B. It's a nice soft pencil, so I can do some nice shading and I can do some nice line work as well. First thing I'm going to look at are the shapes of the bird. Head's a bit of an oval, straight line down the back, bit of curve underneath, almost like a happy face. And this is how I start. I look at, here's the head, back of the head, nice simple straight lines. A bit of an oval in here could be for the head, and then straight down the back. I'm not too concerned about getting details in at an early stage. Just want to get the big shapes. Coming up here into the head, nice simple ghosty lines. Simple ghosty lines. Beak, triangle. Nice triangle for a beak. See how the space works in here. Chest, that nice big curve that I talked about on the chest. Just to start something going, right? Right into the back here. Nice little shape under here for the tail. I also look at the space between things. It's called the negative shapes, to see how things fit together. So, negative shape for leg down here. If I can get this little shape in here right, then both legs will be in the right position. Into the feet. Little triangle in here. This coming down here, which is the branch. Simple, simple forms to start. Simple, simple forms. And I can look at what's missing here now. I've got this part of the tummy, but I realized that I don't have this part of the head. So I need to come back, bring this in here, get this part of the head going, and then adjust where the beak is going to go. Just using again the edge of my pencil. Head is going to come up this way. Looking to see what lines up. And here. Coming up, I can start to curve things a little bit more now if I want. The neck kind of comes across in here. A little bit of a hump. On the back. Again, no details yet. No details, just going for this big, big overall shape. The beak comes in here a little bit. This kind of comes down into here. Line of the beak coming down a little bit. Oh, he's got a little bit more of a curve. Again, I'm not erasing any lines either, because when you start to erase, then you're starting back at the beginning. And it's nice to see where you're at and what changes you need to make from there. I'm going to start to build a bird. Start to build a bird. Again, looking at this shape here, which is this. This is what I'm looking at now. Just this little shape in here. How this kind of comes up and down in here. How this now curves this way. Looking for all these shapes and then adjusting them later. His head comes up this way more. Across here. Constantly adjusting, constantly adjusting. I've got this now going on in here, this here, and then this comes out here. Again, not worried about this yet. We'll get that in shortly. A little bit of a detail in there. But This comes down here, comes down to here. Now we can add maybe a little line saying, this is where this is going to go. This is where the red and the black are going to be separated. You know, his eye is way over here. Looking at this distance in here. My eye's got to go over a little further. I was a little bit too far away. The eye's going to sit in here somewhere. It's basically a circle. Not worried about the details yet. It's basically a circle. Ooh, high point of the head before it comes back down is up here. Just above the eye. Mine's too far back. So I can adjust that now. This is going to be much more curved in here. I don't have this shape in here yet. Correct? So this is going to have to come down, and this has got more of a curve in here. The little beak will stick out a little bit more and come in here. You can start to see, oops, that's not my pencil. You can start to see how things are starting to come together. Here's the red. Goes past his eye. If I took my pencil and I lined it up here, you can see the red goes beyond the eye, over here somewhere. So I can mark that. That comes in also, big triangle, just comes down on his chest. Big triangle that comes down, and then we'll go around his belly a bit. So I don't have enough space here, I don't think. If I bring this like this, and I line this up, where is that? That's pretty far over. Mine's way over here. Look how much further back his beak sits from his neck compared to where I have it right now. So I know that this part of the beak is actually way over here, and I have to adjust that. And once I adjust that, then I can see this space isn't quite right, so I may have to bring that in a little bit. Bring this up a little bit here. Get this part down on his beak. And then from here, it starts to go up. So I've made the beak a little bit too long. Handy dandy eraser. This is when you can erase a little bit to start adjusting your shapes. This beak is way too long now, but I've got some stuff in here that's starting to happen. I'm not concerned right at the beginning about it being exact. Just trying to get, as I said earlier on, these shapes, getting these shapes in the right place. Okay. That's there. This is going to come down. I'm looking at the colors as shapes as well. Not just the big outer shape, but the colors are all shapes in here. And the space between the shapes. Here's a nice curve. Look at come in here. Create a nice curve. Look at how big this space is. My space is definitely not big enough. So if that was to come in here, I can see this is definitely not big enough now. It's much bigger here than what I have. So come back and adjust. Let's bring it down to here. Comes across here and then up. So it comes across here and then up into here. I'm going to erase just a little bit inside so I can really see that big shape in the belly. Ah, that's starting to look a little better, eh? Make sure this is big enough. The wing is going to come down here somewhere. Another little trick is like a clock. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. The angle of this goes, maybe about 2 o'clock. If this is 3 o'clock, maybe 2 o'clock. Maybe mine has to come a little bit more. Big shapes. We see in shape. We do not see in line. You know, when you look outside, you don't see outlines of people and outlines of trees. What you see are the shapes, the big shapes of the tree, the big shapes of a person. I could have planned this a little bit better on my page. Legs will come down in here now, somewhere. And this up into here, a little bit here. And then his tail comes from there. Again, just looking at these nice shapes in here. Not saying it's a wing. It's not a wing. It's not a chest. It's not a leg. It's a shape. Everything is a shape. the space here, mine is way too small. Well, but I've added the legs, so now it's got to come down to here. We'll sit in here to create this bigger space in here. Now, because we see better in shape than we do in line, at some point, the darkest thing on this little guy is his dark, dark black head. So you could, if you wanted to, start shading in a little bit of his head. And you'll be able to see the shape of how all of this fits together by putting in the shading. Again, not too worried about details yet. Just about getting in this big, big shape. This, if I put this horizontally like this, my pencil, I can see that the neck goes in here, just at the bottom of his beak. So I'm not too bad. It could come down just a little bit. Maybe down to here. And then come in this way. You see this nice shape in here? Over here, that's this dark, solid dark color. Now, I think he's a little bit big here. Maybe my eye has to go back a little bit further. Oh yeah, my eye has to go back way further. See this little tip here? That kind of lines up with this part of the eye. If this is the little tip, my eye could go back just a little bit back to here. Right? Maybe I'll just shade this in just a little bit darker than everything else I've done, just to get an idea of where things are sitting. There we go. If you want to shade this in and make this a nice dark black, there's a couple of ways to do it. Some people like to use their finger. I like to use something like this. This is called a tortillon or a stomp, and it's really nice. You can blend things and darken things up without using your finger. Fingers are okay. The issue sometimes with the finger is our skin is very oily. And sometimes when you use your finger, the pencil won't go down after. It's too oily for the pencil to take. There we go. Now we're starting to get the shape of the head of the bird. Right? If you want it this time, if you want to do a little cleaning up on some edges, just so if you can see it a little bit better for yourself, you can do that. Oh, by the way, this eraser is called a kneaded eraser. As you can see, you can knead it like dough. And what's nice about it, it doesn't leave, whoops, it doesn't leave particles on your page. And I dropped mine, but I'm back. I've got it again. So, there we go. And I can clean up a couple of other little spots here as I'm going to fix a few shapes in here. Right, this could come in here, and now I can adjust things. I can adjust a few of the shapes in here if I want. This is light. The nice thing about the kneaded eraser or any eraser at this point, you can come in and lift out where some of the lights are. In here, and then this will come back into here. Again, I'm not too concerned about details yet. I'm still looking at the big shapes. It's nice to step back every so often too. Because I'm drawing this on a bit of an angle and my camera is behind me, I'm having a little bit of a harder time seeing the shape of the head, but I'll get it as close as I can. Now, the wing is not as dark as the head, but it's dark enough, so I might come in and very gently, just a little bit lighter, start to shade in the wing. Just again to get a nice big shape of the wing. Not too concerned about the details yet. Details are the last thing you put into a painting or a drawing. And it's also good to decide where you want the details to go. Do you want people to get caught up in all the details around the whole piece, or would you like them to look at his face and maybe a little bit of the feathers in this area? So this area is what you would take to more of a finish, and this could be a little softer. Let's come in here. Get a little bit of shading in here just to get an idea. I can see that this comes much further back. This nice dark shape here, so I'm going to bring that in a little bit further down into here. A little bit darker. Like that. Every so often what's really good too is to be able to step back from your drawing or your painting. It gives you a chance to get a good overview of it. Let's put this. I want to see the shape in here for myself. I like seeing in shapes rather than just in line, as I said earlier. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to put in the red. It's not as dark as the black. And I'm just going to put in a little bit of this shading in here so I can see what's going on in here for myself. Get a little bit of a shape going on in here. Might have to come in and darken up his face a little bit. So in here, maybe I'll make his face a little bit darker. Come back and make his face a little bit darker so that I can see this red. So now I like a little bit of this detail in here. So I might come in, put in just very gently some of the little feathers that are going on in here. There we go. There we go. A little bit of something else going on. This could come up here if I wanted it to. Up into here a bit. No, come back in and erase a little bit. This has already got some pencil on it, so I can just use this to shade it in again. We start to get our little bird going. This side of him is a little bit darker than this as well. It gives him his little bit of his dimension. I'm gonna make him a little bit darker on this side. Let this get a little bit lighter as it comes in here. Like that. I don't mind this shape. I'm looking at this little shape in here, this light shape that comes into here. You can come up into here. That I can see this comes down this way to his chest. Again, if I wanted to, I could take my pencil and take this point here and line it straight up. And it lines up with the edge of his beak. Ah, look, mine's a little bit too far over that way. So I'm going to erase it a little bit more and bring it back. Doesn't have to be exact, but creates a nicer shape in here that's closer to this. Feathers. Use your pencil to create feathers on this side. If you'd like. It's a little bit darker in here. A little bit of darkness in here. What's really important to me as well is having a nice sharp pencil so that I can use the side for shading, and then I can use the tip when I want to get in for the nice sharp edges, nice crisp edges. Now we've got another set of feathers at work in here, right? So if I wanted to, just looking at what's going on here, they're down here somewhere, I think. They're behind his back foot. So about here somewhere. This comes in here. Now I'm just working a little bit of detail onto. Again, I'm not looking at all these individual feathers. I'm looking at this shape here. It's this way. And up this way. This. In there. And this is very dark in here as well. Actually, it's just a little bit lighter up here and the rest of it's darker. So I'm going to darken this down a bit to get this a little bit darker. So that I can get the lights a little bit lighter in spots. I want to be able to have a little bit more to play with my lights and darks, which are called values. The whites are very light value. The black is a very dark value. I like to have my dark darks and my light lights really different so that I can get the bird or anything to look really round and voluminous. Just going to come in here. Again, not too worried about details yet. Still getting in the big shapes. It's a tad lighter in here, so I'm going to leave that. And then it gets darker in here. Now, we do have some light feathers going on in here. So I'm just going to mark in where I'd like them to go. Again, the shape does this. I'm not worried about the details yet. Goes down on an angle this way. Goes down on an angle this way more. I had it going the other way. Kind of goes down this way a bit. So this is what's going to represent this. And the rest of it is dark. A tad lighter up here. And come in. Start putting all of this in. Again, rubbing this in so I get a solid value, a nice dark value, so that I don't see all these lines that distract my eyes. Now, it's not about making it look exact, it's about getting an impression of this bird. You know, do we want to be really good technicians, or do we want to do a drawing that represents this bird? You know, everybody draws a little differently. Everybody represents things a little differently. If we all drove the same car, we all wore the same clothes, it would be pretty boring. So, by adding a little bit of your own to it is what will make the drawing yours, uniquely yours. I'm just showing you how I approach things to give you a place to start. There we go. I think his beak is a little too big. I think I've made his head too big, actually. But it's okay. I could adjust it after if I need to. I think his beak is a little bit too big this way. Not long enough this way, I think. I think it needs to be more this way and come up this way a little bit. Oh, that little adjustment helped a lot. Okay, back to here. I'm going to erase this out now a little bit because it's light. It's a very, very light value. I'm going to erase it out and get a shape in here that will represent the feathers in his wing. And he's got little ones just in here. Again, these are my tools. If you've got an eraser like this is fine as well. It will do the job. Get in there and it will erase and do what you want it to as well. There you go. Oh, his whole body goes from light to dark. So I'm gonna put in a little bit of this dark. Just in here. Just in here, using the side. Going kind of in the direction of the feathers. I'm going to get some of this in here. I want to make them look three-dimensional. So I'm going to actually start doing this. And let's get something going here. Make them look three-dimensional. Like this. And it's going to get lighter as it comes into here. And the more you fill them in, the more voluminous and round it will look. I'm going to take this right into here right now. There we go. Starting to look a little more three-dimensional. You can come back in with your handy-dandy eraser and start lifting out areas if you need to lighten up spots. It also creates feathers beautifully. Come in spots and just lift out in some areas and create feathers. There we go. I'm not drawing individual feathers. We don't see individual feathers. When you, oh, this isn't long enough. Look how long this is. I don't know what I'm drawing here, but that is definitely not long enough. This needs to come way down to here. The space here. So I need to come in here. Putting this way down. Oh, that's getting better. When you look at somebody from a distance, you don't see all the hair on their head, every single hair. You see the shape of their hair. You don't even see their eyes from a distance. You see the shape of their eyes, the shape of the skeleton actually of their head. You see the lights and the darks. I have my guy leaning back. He's more this way. I have him tilted a little bit too much this way. If I bring this here, I can see the front of this is that part of the beak. That's not too bad, but it comes straighter down here. And this goes this way more. I have him standing up too much. A little rounder in here. Again, I haven't erased anything. I am moving it as I go along. I'm making the changes as I go along and then erasing afterwards. There we go. This is not right. What's wrong with this in here? Has to come in here a bit more maybe. Comes across. And then this part we said lines up with the wing, so maybe this needs to come down a little bit. And it's possible because this might not be wide enough. So I can do that. Again, it's moving things around. Maybe this is too big. This might be coming down too far. If I go across, that's straight. Mine might have to come up a little bit. Again, I'm being very, very technical here. You don't have to be that technical. I'm just trying to get it to look, getting the shape a little bit more. I want that chest really sticking out. Okay, let's go back to here now. Got some shapes going on in here, but the rest of the wing comes down this way. Down this way. Down this way. The piece that's going to stick out here. Again, another triangle. Here's another triangle inside to where the tail comes down, like that. Right? I think this needs to be a little bigger. That's okay. Comes up here, and this tail's going to sit in there. We start to get a bird. I'm going to work on his eye just because I feel like working on his eye right now. And it's much darker, so I'm going to come in with his eye, darken it up. Look how much closer that is than what I've got. Mine's got to come down here. Like that. And then I can erase around his eye. And I'm in glare. Let's come back in. Voila. And he's got a little highlight in his eye. Let's give him a little highlight. This is where this eraser would be better. I got a little over ambitious and colored it in, made it too dark. There we go. A little bit of shading on his beak, on the tip of his beak. And what you do is you just work around the whole drawing until you get close to a finish. So a little dark in here, and gets his little nostril. Comes in here. And you can adjust as you go along. You erase a little bit, you put it in, you take it out, you put it in, you take it out. This is a little too big. Now I could come in and darken all of this a little bit more so that the red stands out a little bit more. I could come back in and really darken up his head. And it's nice after you have rubbed in that first layer and blended it all. Sometimes it's nice just to leave the second layer. The texture of the pencil, as you put it in, will create some feathers or texture into your drawing. Get a little bit more. I put this in too dark, and now I can't lift it out to get the highlight. That's okay. This is a little bit darker in here. Here, and we're starting to get a bird. You want to put a little bit of detail into these feathers? Use the tip of your pencil. Come in. Pick a couple of spots. Put a few of them in. Don't put them all in. Just put a few. Again, we want to look at his face. We don't want to see every feather on his body. We want to look at his face. I enjoy putting my own take on the animals. I like to bring them to life. I don't want to copy exactly the drawing. I want it close, but I want it to be more alive. So let's put a little bit more of this in. Little lines with the eraser. Erasers work really well. These work really well because you can pinch them to a point and you can pull them across. You can get these erasers at Staples. Ooh, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. Am I allowed to advertise for other people? If you want to go to Staples or any art store, they're called kneaded erasers, as I said earlier. There we go. We're starting to get nice little feathers going on here. Maybe I'll put some of these in. I like these too. These in here. This is where I use the point of my pencil. A little bit of detail. I kind of like how this comes in here a bit. Not as detailed as this. A little bit of detail. I kind of like how it kind of coming into his chest here. Get a little more three-dimensional. I do like this little bit of white in here. Erase it out a bit. And then come back in and just put in, oops, a bit of a line on this side. Just to separate it a little bit. We start to get a bird. A little bit of a bird. I kind of like the rough edges. If you don't, you can erase them. I like them. It makes them look a little bit fuzzier. It gives them more action, or her. Probably a male. It's got colors. I think it's a grosbeak. I've never seen one of these live. Coming up here, and then here's this light here. What is going on outside? We got all kinds of noise going on outside. Here we go. And this now, I can see the shape in here. This comes down a little bit more this way. And I can continue filling this in. And keep going on and continue filling things in. This is a little darker than this. So I can come in here now, darken this up. All the way down into here a bit. All right. I personally like the blender because I've always had this thing about my hands being dirty. So this way, my hands don't get dirty. You know? A few little black spots that represent a little bit of feathers down in here. And come this way. Follow this semicircle. Down to where the foot is here a little bit. Here, I'm not concerned about being exact. I'm representing the feathers. Gets a little darker in here. Now, what I like to do is go back in with this little guy, soften a few things out, and just represent some feathers in here. He needs feet, doesn't he? Let's give him a foot. One's here, lines up here somewhere. It's not bad where I've got it. Let's give him a foot, because he needs to stand on something. Like so. This is nice and dark in here. He's got to, again, everything is a shape. I'm looking at this shape here, like a backwards L. And then this goes down like that. Not a foot, not anything, it's a shape. And this comes in front of it. It's a shape. Draw the shapes, and the shapes draw the form. One of the leg comes this way. Goes this way now. Comes down like this. Comes across here. And it does that. This is darker. A bit skinnier too. It actually goes into his body. This comes down here. This comes up into here somewhere. Over here. This, I may just leave as an outline. Maybe just put a little bit of shading in to represent the bark going this way if I wanted to. But this drawing is about the bird, not about the tree stump or the tree stump, the tree branch that he is sitting on. But we do want to have him sitting on something, right? Now I look at this space. I don't think, oh, where does this other leg go? I look at the space in between here, and I can see that it's something like this, and then this goes like this, which actually, once that's in there, represents the back of the other foot. And this comes straight down almost. Like that. And this is the other foot that will come in here. But if you get this foot into the right place, then you will have both feet sitting properly. There's the whole foot actually is in here, and then you got the feet coming out from there. And I could clean up some certain spots in here. I made his eye way too big, and not quite. And he's a little bit rounder than what I've got him, but that's okay. Let's go back to his wing. Looking at this again. I want to make this nice and dark. I'm going to leave this a little bit white now that I know that I can't erase it the way I thought I could. I'm going to leave it a little bit lighter in here. And I'm going to come down here with this wing. And down into here. I'm going to leave this bit in here whiter as well. Comes here again, looking for the big shape. See how it sits against his body here. And then comes up this way, like I said, the triangle, this way. That's going to be another, go. And you can work through the drawing every so often, and bring in a few little details and spots if you want. Here. Now I'm not blending. I like, as I said earlier, the texture from the pencil to create some of the feathers. Down through here a bit. I made a few little tweaks to the drawing, and now I'm done. If you'd like to get a hold of me, you can reach me at shermanj.com. And again, my name is Judy Sherman. Thank you for drawing with me today.